going on YouTube? Strider Spec with another daily high ELO casting, and once again I am joined by Eskimo.
What's up, everybody?
And this should be an interesting game because we do have youngMINI playing Shaco, or Shaco, whatever you want to call him. Plus we also have a Draven in the game, which is also not seen, and then we have our first Rengar game, so that should be really interesting. Aerodactyl is a really good player, so I'm interested to see what he's going to pull off with Rengar. I'm interested to see a lot of his tricks that people have been showing YouTube videos of and see if they're actually practical or if they're just, you know, one-off spin trick things that people are just messing around with.
Yeah, this match is going to be interesting. Both teams are fairly mobile. We have the move speed boost from Janna's passive on top of all the bouncing around, the leaps, the dodges, the blinks, the craziness coming from purple team, but at the same time, Draven himself is a pretty mobile champion with his move speed buff. He's got the Nunu Blood Boil, Gragas dashes, Shaco blinks, and Zhao, who is not connected yet. TiensiNoAkuma is going to be on him. He's got a dash of his own, so
that's going to provide a little bit of an AoE slow as well as like a little AoE knockback, so they can really just isolate one person extremely easy with the ultimate coming out from Zhao, and then Gragas kind of body slamming in and then ultimating their whole team back again. So they're either going to be able to pick off one or possibly two people with that combo really, really easily, and that's what's going to be extremely scary.
So between Shaco, Draven, and Rengar, we have a few unconventional champions that we haven't seen very much of at the higher levels of play lately, so it should be an exciting game. Yes. Assuming their Zhao ever connects.
Yeah, hopefully Zhao connects, because this could be a very depressing game if it doesn't actually go through. I don't really like it when people just keep disconnecting or stay disconnected the whole game. That's obviously not very fun to cast, and it's not nearly as fun to watch. It's possible he was just like restarting his client or restarting his computer if he had some like frame drop issues or something like that, but we'll know here in just a little bit.
Do you think we're going to see an invade in the event that they recognize there's no Zhao and they have Morgana's snare along with Janna's pop-up?
I definitely do think that we will see some form of early aggression. I don't know if it's going to quite be an invade. I mean, Shaco does need his boxes to set up, but he's so versatile. He can set up boxes pretty much at any camp and still be a relatively good jungler. He can, as you can see, he'll probably throw 2 at Wraiths and then 3 at red buff. But if the red team, they obviously know that this is going to happen, because this is the exact way youngMINI pretty much always sets up his boxes. He doesn't go for blue buff first.
We have red team. They're starting to show their faces. Ezreal and Rengar are picking in first. He checks the bush with a mystic shot, finds Nunu.
And they back off. They thought more people were possibly in that brush, and that was a really good call. Let Rengar tank it so he doesn't get first blood.
We have more poking. We have Morgana possibly trying to hit the binding. She connects with Draven. Rengar doesn't seem to notice. Ezreal goes on him. Janna's Tornado comes up and CCs them down, but it looks like it's just a poke war. Pretty hefty poke, but poke all the same.
They actually have not engaged any of the boxes within Wraith Camp, so he's still going to be okay within Wraith Camp. It's going to go down pretty easily. I'm not sure if Ezreal really wants to risk it. He might try to just steal a quick Wraith, though.
Yeah, they're going back and forth.
Yeah, so the Tornado doesn't actually pick anything up, which is a little bit depressing, but Gragas actually just taking those down. He's going to try to leash the red buff. I don't know how well that's going to work for him, because now Shaco has to leash the red buff back into the camp in order to aggro it.
He's got a little help from Nunu coming in.
Yeah,
Takes consume level 1.
Is really helpful.
Yeah, it's really helpful not to pick your first skill right away and pick it based on the needs of your teammates. If you have an invade, you might want one skill, but if you're going straight to lane, you'll want another. Seeing that Shaco needed the assist after that little skirmish in the jungle, Nunu went for consume rather than Ice Blast or Blood Boil, and that was incredibly helpful to his ally.
Yeah, because they knew they didn't want to fight it without Zhao there, so that was a really good job. I thought he might have gone Ice Blast just to help with the disengage, but they really didn't have many problems, if any problems, with just disengaging entirely. So it was a really good job by the blue team being able to recognize that the threat wasn't as big as the red team wanted it to be, I believe.
Alright, now we're also looking at another anomaly with Lee Sin hanging out in spawn, not really doing anything. Well, he's dancing.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Shaco's taking his red buff He's actually waiting on Lee Sin to come up there so we can gank him, but little does he know that Lee Sin is drinking from the fountain.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Maybe there might just be something possibly wrong with the servers, or they're close together and there was a large disconnect in a certain area, like
Shaco.
ISP disconnect or something. But Shaco is possibly going to go in and try to engage on this Rengar. No, Rengar does just kind of hide in that bush.
Yeah, I think Shaco right now, content to sit on the 2 red buffs. He knows he's going to have to lane with the absence of Zhao, so he's going to work on that for a while. And without junglers, this is going to be perhaps a very boring game.
Perhaps. It's possible. It kind of just is based on who can farm better at this point.
Well, we have youngMINI and Aerodactyl. That massive burst coming from the savagery from Rengar, competing with the red buff of Shaco. It's going to be interesting to see who bursts who. Rengar goes for the leap from the brush. He starts picking it up. He has full stacks and first blood onto Shaco. Full stacks of his ferocity combined with savagery, his massive early game burst.
Yeah, so that was one of the videos that we were talking about, how you can pretty much burst down anybody extremely fast when you're in this top rush and you're able to get that leap on them and pop that savagery. It's so difficult to get away from that much damage. Even with the Deceive, he just didn't seem like there was as much of a threat as there actually was. So I think he might have been a little bit taken off guard by that damage. But I don't think he'll make that mistake again. So
yeah, absolutely. Since he has Smite, he's going to pick up blue buff. He knows he's going to have to start relying on his abilities in lane, so he's going to want the mana to do that.
Exactly.
Especially since now Rengar has...
I was actually going to give it over to Gragas, which is a really good idea too, because this will give Gragas a huge advantage. Oh, or
scumbag Shaco
he just smites it
doesn't want to share.
All right. I think Gragas wanted to take it, but Shaco didn't let him, and that was... I don't really know. It could have been either way. Shaco is going to go on. Yes, not able to do anything. Rengar needs to get out of tower range before he turns around and attacks. He does have that red buff, which is really going to hurt that Shaco in the long run as well.
But he knows he can't afford to take tower aggro right there. So.
Exactly, because he would have died.
All right, we have TiensiNoAkuma back in the game. It's going to be hard to tell if they want to let him back in that top lane or if they're just going to duo it with Shaco and Zhao together. I don't know where he's going to go because right now he'd be easy pickings for any of the lane opponents.
Any lane opponent, he'd be really, really easy to... But Zhao does have some form of jungling ability. I just don't know how well it's going to do. But Rengar has been pushing the tower.
Oh, we have Shaco coming in for a gank onto Morgana in conjunction with Gragas. He misses his body slam. They don't get to burn a summoner. They don't get to take her down very much at all. The lack of red buff on Shaco makes his ganking power slightly less than optimal.
Oh, Rengar's coming in. He is level 6. He did pop his ultimate.
Gets
and
the
snared.
leap combined with the red buff and the snare from Morgana. That's going to drop Gragas. That's probably going to hurt Shaco's self-esteem a little.
Yeah, and that was a great bullet strike coming out from Rengar for sure.
You know, as we say that, Morgana is completely out of mana. He drops the ward to try and get vision. He doesn't quite pick up Morgana. Rengar turns around.
Yeah, I don't think that ward is really necessarily placed because even if it was in the brush, I mean, as long as Rengar's in the brush, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's in the brush, he's going to be able to do that leap strike regardless. It doesn't even matter if he has vision on you or not, from what I saw in the champion spotlight. So
we have an interesting little tower dive scenario going on that doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, Nunu gets caught behind the tower, so I don't know how that actually happened with Draven not anywhere close to the tower.
It's entirely possible Draven accidentally tanked the first shot, decided to back up, and Nunu got a little too ballsy for his own good. But since nothing happened, we won't spend time rewinding. And more computer complications from Zhao, and he's back in the fountain.
Exactly. So this looks like it's going to be a very interesting 4v4 matchup. They're still the same meta. It's going to have one person top, one person mid, and 2 people bot on each teams. Shaco is kind of hanging out in the jungle a little bit more than possible. I think Rengar could technically just push really hard and take a tower and get an advantage for his team. I don't know why he's not doing that. I guess he just still wants to free farm as much as possible, which isn't a bad thing. But I'm pretty sure at this point Rengar can easily 1v1 the Shaco without any problems whatsoever.
Well, at this point, he definitely knows he's strong enough to kill anyone who comes into his lane. He already has a Brutalizer. It's only 8 minutes in. 3 kills, and also one of the highest CSs on the board. He knows he doesn't need to take the tower. He's got a substantial advantage, and he'll just sit there farming it. But, you know, as I say that, he starts going to town on it. So maybe he just... Maybe he decided he was just going to farm, and then when he realized no one was coming, he decided to tear it down.
Yeah, and I think that's a great play by him. Just keep pushing when there's no real jungle presence or you have no fear of the jungler. And, I mean, you'll know when 2 or 3 people go missing since there's only 4 people on each team right now.
Yeah, and there are
It's
wards.
going to be really easy for him to be able to realize a bad situation and possibly get out of it.
And there are wards all across the map. He knows Shaco's nowhere near, and he knows Zhao isn't in the game, so at this point...
Blue team is actually opting to go for a dragon, which is probably very aggressive. A great snare coming out from Morgana, taking out the clone, and now the ultimate...
Nunu is caught out in the middle of the enemy team along with Shaco, but no stun actually manages to proc. Draven's massive DPS is coming down. He's hitting the spinning axes and proccing bleeds, but it's not quite enough for anyone to die, which is...
Nobody dies on either team, but then again, Rengar's up there still, just pushing as hard as he can, doing a wonderful job, and now Lee Sin finally coming back. There is some more action continuing to go on bottom.
Gragas body slams through the jungle, pops the cask onto Morgana, but he also fires his regular barrel roll. He throws down the ignite, but the shield from Janna is going to protect her from that. However, Shaco comes in with an ignite of his own. The attack and the red buff, not quite enough, but Gragas does pick it up. However, he has an Ezreal and a Janna to contend with, while Rengar, meanwhile, is working on the inner turret.
Yeah, and
what a
he's
goofy
taking
game.
These towers down so fast. That Brutalizer is really helping against the little bit of armor that the turrets have, and he's just doing a great job with that frenzy.
And Nunu tries to be a hero and save it, but I don't know what he can do, really.
Yeah, Ice Blast isn't really going to do too much. But he is going to, you know, he thwarted him off from taking the inhibitor, and that helps, but in the long run, I'm pretty sure Lee Sin is actually here to stay, it looks like. He's level 2, he's just going to kind of farm mid as much as he can.
Now we're looking over into the jungle. We see that Gragas and Shaco both stumble onto Rengar. Rengar opts to pop his ultimate to go into stealth. He opens up on Nunu, nearly bursts him all the way down. Gragas starts diving onto him, and without that ultimate to get away now, he's in a tight spot. He flashes away, but the 2-shiv from Shaco drops him. Morgana snare is not there in time.
Yeah, and that red buff really hurt that Rengar. A great job by Gragas, just throwing in those auto attacks as much as possible, being able to proc that red buff and keeping him slowed down, giving Shaco the chance to actually take that red buff, or sorry, take the blue buff as well as deceive over and not have a huge way to go. But it was just a really good job, him being able to just take that kill, make sure it was secure.
Now we have action going up in the top half of the map with Lee Sin wants to start doing something to red buff, and it turns out that Shaco just dropped a jack-in-the-box in the bush and left, so
yeah,
a little premature call there on my part.
So very interesting on that part. Lee Sin did throw his ward down there. He wants to see when Shaco's going to come in and actually take that red buff, but it looks like Rengar's just going to go for it himself because he can, and that's what he does.
Alright, Zhao has returned to the game. I don't know if he's able to actually do anything. Rengar's going to be picking up the red buff, but at the same time, Shaco's going for Dragon. Ezreal's probably going to poke his head in there to try and do something about it.
Yeah, they do have a pink ward here, so it's definitely going to be noted. And again, the clone does go down from Shaco, but they were able to take it. And it looks like Gragas is going to go down from the duo combo.
But
no!
Lee Sin is only level 3. He barely even tickles. But we have Shaco jumping onto the Janna. The Ice Blast from Nunu slowing her down. Draven coming in with his burst of speed and his bleeding ticks. He throws his ult, doesn't quite get her. Drops a few attacks onto Ezreal right now. He uses his CC to push him to the side. Janna wanders in a little too close, and Shaco picks her up. Ezreal's ultimate whiffing completely. Nunu tower diving with the Ice Blast. Nunu bot, and he detonates the Absolute Zero, but it's not quite enough to pick him up. Meanwhile, Draven running in past the tower, going low, wants to collect him. Up top, no surprise, Rengar picks up Zhao. SilSol popping the heal, along with the ignite that make him famous.
SilSol being able to take that out, baiting out Ezreal to kind of hesitate for a minute, turn around, throw out his Q. That definitely slowed down his movement speed just enough, and SilSol perfectly baited that out with his heal. And for those of you who don't know SilSol, he runs Ignite Heal on every champion, unless it's usually a brand new champion that he's not quite familiar with. But pretty much always goes for that Heal Ignite combo. It got him to the highest point in solo queue. He was ranked number 1 for quite some time, and it was a huge joke for the most part. But he really does show that he deserves to have it at times. He's a very excellent player.
Yeah,
and he's just really good at baiting those heals because it's so unconventional.
Right now we're seeing a little bit of jungle camp theft going on both sides of the map. Rengar dipping in to pick up wolves. Shaco taking the blue golem from purple team, which probably a little more valuable than a couple of wolves. But
definitely.
Every little bit counts.
Preventing Morgana from having that blue buff is just absolutely ridiculous because Morgana with blue buff is just so annoying. Her Dark Binding is on a pretty long cooldown, but putting that blue buff on her and getting extra cooldown reduction from possibly a blue elixir is really going to put her at that maximum amount of cooldown reduction, that 40% mark that you really want to go for on most casters without investing too much money.
Alright, we have Rengar opening up on the poor level 4 Lee Sin. There's not even anything to talk about. He just eats him alive. And that's going to be picking up stacks for the Bone Tooth Necklace, though normally you would see that this engagement is interrupting my train of thought. We have the Ice Blast coming in from Nunu, the cleanse from Ezreal, going to let him chase him down. He manages to whiff his ultimate, the Janna Zephyr. She's going to be auto-attacking him to death. Lee Sin jumps in onto Nunu, but the kill goes to Ezreal, and Janna's able to kill Draven with her auto-attacks.
That is just embarrassing, being hunted down by a support champion.
Right, we have Shaco jumping in behind Ezreal, hits him with red buff and the backstab for a lot of damage. Ezreal's going to go down fighting. Shaco pops his hallucinate, goes in. Ezreal's attacking the wrong one. Oh no, he's not. I'm casting for the wrong one. That's my bad.
The buffs don't really give it away who the real clone is, but
it's actually part of Shaco's true deception.
Yeah.
And there goes the hallucinated clone, sacrificing himself for the greater good of creep farming.
And Lee Sin is getting pinged off to retreat, and that is probably the safest move because he doesn't want to really be poking around, because we saw what happened last time. Rengar was just able to instantly kill him just as he took down the Shaco. And let's go ahead and rewind and find out exactly what happened here. Shaco was taking a couple unnecessary tower shots.
Rengar's coming in. He knows Shaco's there, so he pops his ultimate. This is going to give him the dash to leap onto him. He does, and he opens up the ferocity. The 5 stacks mixing with his savagery is just going to lay down a huge amount of burst, and we see that he's got some stacks of his Bone Tooth Necklace along with a Youmu's and a BF sword. That is a lot of burst coming in from Rengar on the squishy Shaco.
That is going to be quite a bit, and I don't know how Shaco's going to be able to get away from that without his deceive, especially if he didn't see it coming, because Rengar had his ultimate, and you don't know when he pops his ultimate. It's not like Darkness coming out from Nocturne, where it's a big, giant world announcement. He's just invisible randomly for an extended period of time. He is cut out by this ward, though, on the blue team, and so he's going to be camping in that brush, but the blue team knows about it, and so they're just going to kind of either bait it out or just run away.
All right, they're pretty confident he's in that bush. Nunu dropping the ward, hits him with the Ice Blast. Draven with a little bit of DPS on him, but it's not going to matter.
Yeah, they were actually able to take out that ward before it went invisible with the savagery coming out, resetting that attack.
We have Draven and Nunu opening up on Janna and Ezreal. Nunu flashing in for his absolute zero. Janna's Monsoon going to knock him out of it. Rengar leaps in behind, absolutely butchers Draven. Shaco picks up Janna, but he's going to be taking a lot of damage. The Ignite goes on to the real Shaco, with Rengar getting a double kill, and then he leaps in for a triple onto Nunu. And Ezreal scampers away with 30 health.
That is very... Oh my gosh, and the barrel missing from Gragas.
Now we
unfortunate.
Have Rengar popping Youmu's and Flash to leap on the red buff combined with the slow from his leap. He gets another leap, proccing off of that brush, hits him with the roar and the ferocity. The red buff's going to tick down, and he's going to drop Gragas for an extremely delayed quadra kill.
Wonderful job by the Rengar. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to stop him later game. He does have 2,500 gold in his pocket. Same with Morgana, so I'm interested to see what they're going to buy, and even if they need to buy anything, I think at 20 minutes this might just be a surrender because of both teams disconnecting. I think they might just want to kind of restart, start a new game, as it just kind of the game just started on a bad foot, and so everyone was probably demoralized just from the sheer fact that they didn't have their team. I mean, it's supposed to be a team game when you're missing key members of your team, especially a top laner who is known for their snowball mechanic. You let their top laner just able to free farm. A lot of action going down.
While we're talking, yes, we have Draven opening up onto Janna. He's taking quite a bit of damage, but Shaco jumps in on her as well. He picks up the kill onto Janna. They are going to continue chasing Ezreal and then give up, because Ezreal is quite a quick champion. One of the sad things about this game for sure is that Rengar has the option of farming Bone Tooth Necklace stacks off the extremely low levels in Zhao. Now, farming a low-level champion isn't normally such a big deal, but in the case of a snowballing mechanic like the Bone Tooth Necklace, it really, really is.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to just get those stacks, I mean, he's at 7 already, and I think the max is, what, 14? I think the max is 14, but once he gets to that point, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, most likely you're going to have issues with Rengar once you hit that anyway.
Alright, he pops his ultimate. He's going to be leaping into Xin Zhao, and he almost completely blows him up just off of that. Popping Youmuu's to get a little extra burst of speed. He's going to connect with his auto attack, and then Savagery to finish.
Just absolutely obliterating that Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao did everything he could to try to get away from the ultimate, to knock him back, and then he flashed, but he was just too slow. Just absolutely too slow. That Phage proc was extremely well used. And it just slowed him down enough to where it wasn't going to help him get out of it regardless of what happens. And now they're actually going on to the inhibitor. It's going to be the first inhibitor of the game, possibly. Looks like they're being scared off by the Nunu, but now that Rengar's here, they're not afraid of anything. Yeah, Rengar's just so fed right now.
Draven pops spinning axes, but he wanders right into the Morgana snare. We have Xin Zhao leaping into the middle of everybody. He gets kicked away by Lee Sin after almost managing to drop down Ezreal. A pretty impressive feat considering how long he was disconnected. Rengar popping his ultimate, sneaking in from behind. Gonna leap onto the Gragas, pick up that kill. He's switching targets to Nunu while Morgana pops her ultimate. She manages to get the stun off, killing the Xin Zhao, and then she gets a double kill onto Nunu, and that triple kill as well, finishing up Shaco.
So that's going to be a 5-for-1. They were able to take out that Rengar finally, but he went back and just bought an entire Bloodthirster, so I'm pretty sure this game is over. That might have been a surrender vote. It looks like they're just going to heal up as much as possible from Janna's ultimate and take down a second inhibitor. And this is when it gets really scary, especially since it's the top and the middle inhibitor. This provides so much pressure on two fronts of their base so that it's going to leave Baron basically wide open after about 30 seconds to a minute of those super minions pushing into the lane.
And you have to acknowledge the fact that because the inhibitors are down, it strengthens the minions coming out from every corner of red team's base, not just those lanes, meaning it also exerts extra pressure on the bottom. And the moment someone does go bottom, red team's going to say, hey, 4v5? You know what that sounds like? Sounds like a free Baron.
Exactly, and it's going to be extremely difficult. I don't know if blue team has the manpower or the coordination right now. They were able to take out the strongest member of the red team last time, and I don't know if they're going to go with an initiation here. It looks like Gragas does back off. He doesn't really want to deal with it quite yet. So they might be just waiting for the Xin Zhao to farm up a little bit more. He does have more farm than the Lee Sin, but the Lee Sin did connect earlier than him. But, you know, despite all those facts, Xin Zhao still has 500 more gold. He is getting that gold per 10. So it looks like they're going to try to bring this into the late game. So this might be a 50-minute game, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see how it actually happens.
If they can hold on, well, we still don't know if they'll win, but it's the only option they really have.
Yeah, it's the only option.
Gragas coming in from above, starting to pressure on Morgana, gets the body slam. Her ultimate goes down. Shaco goes wandering right into the middle of it, fails to hallucinate to immune it, but Xin Zhao, with his 3 talent strike and his audacious charge, going to help pick her up. Gragas actually gets the kill. Xin Zhao switching targets to Lee Sin, who looks like he's going to drop to Ezreal. Up above, we have Lee Sin and Janna duking it out with Draven, leaping in onto him. Rengar coming in from behind, picking up Gragas. Absolute Zero, not quite catching anybody, but Draven manages to clean up Ezreal while Rengar eats Nunu alive, and he is looping in from beneath, popping his Youmuu's and eating up Draven as well.
And that is going to be another tower down for the blue team. I don't know what's going to happen at this point. They are ace. They're going to be able to push this tower pretty easily, especially with that shield coming out from Janna.
And with Xin Zhao being the
and the
only one
minions
alive,
taking out the first Nexus tower, they're just going to keep continuing to take down this as well. And the heal coming out from Janna. Looks like they might go for another inhibitor, which is relatively unsafe. And Gragas, instead of trying to go for a kill here, it's actually going to be surrender vote.
So that 50-minute game we were, totally hoping for is not going to come to pass.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was just 2 disconnects at the early game, and letting top lane completely snowball without any worry of having to buy wards, being scared of a jungler, is just completely out of there. And any top laner with that level of freeness, just able to push towers for days and not have to worry about anything, is literally just going to snowball your team into that game. And it seems that Rengar is incredibly powerful once he starts getting fed. Even early game, he's pretty powerful, but we'll have to see if we can find a game where he's going up against like an Aurelia or a Jax or something. I'd be interested to see how that matchup actually looks like. So,
somebody a little less squishy than Shaco, who's not going to get blown up instantly by a 5-stack savagery.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We're going to see if we can get another game here, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Thanks.